Good morning. We'd like to welcome Barbara Armstrong, OBE, to the sofa today. She's currently featured on the cover of our September-October issue of Niche magazine, and we were keen to find out a little bit more about her. Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well. It's lovely to be here with you.
You've had an exciting weekend with family, haven't you?
I've had a very exciting weekend. My brother's 10th wedding anniversary, and we had lots of partying.
It's important to get a good balance, isn't it, with family and work?
Oh, definitely. Probably a bit more fun than work.
Unless you love what you do, as you
Yes.
do, which makes it kind of fun anyway.
That's true. It's fun whatever I'm doing.
So I've got a few questions that I wanted to go over with you.
Okay, Jenny.
So starting from the very beginning, you yourself, your career path didn't exactly take the route that you were intending it to. You originally wanted to be a radiographer, is that right?
I did.
And you went to see a careers advisor who advised you against it.
Yes.
So tell me about that.
Without even knowing anything about me, which I found quite incredible on reflection, the careers teacher just sort of said, "Oh, you want to be a radiographer?" "I don't think so," and just suggested that I take shorthand and typing instead and become a secretary. So
what was his judgment? Why did he?
I have no idea. He had never met me before. As far as I'm aware, wasn't looking at how I was doing at school at the time, and just made a judgment. And I guess I could probably think about why some of those reasons are without.
How did you do at school?
Into it. I did pretty well at school. I wasn't great at maths, but I was great at sciences and language, all of those sorts of things. So I did pretty well, actually.
So quite dream crushing.
Yes.
And how old
absolutely.
were you at this point?
Oh gosh, I can't have been more than 10 or 11.
So quite a young age for someone to kind of come down so harsh on you.
At that point, when you're choosing which subjects you're going to focus on and that sort of thing.
What about your parents? So what did they say when you went home and sort of said, "Oh, I'm not going to be a radiographer"?
Ah, well, it doesn't quite work like that when you come from a Caribbean family like mine that are very much into what authority figures are about and doing as you're told and behaving well and being proper. So going home and saying my careers teacher didn't let me do what I wanted to do wouldn't really have been something I could have gone home and said, teachers are right.
Yeah.
So do as you're told, behave yourself. And my mum just thought, oh, well, if the career teacher says that's a good thing to do, then it must be a good thing to do.
It's funny how different the world is now, isn't it?
Yeah.
Whereas
definitely.
I think if a career teacher said that to a pupil nowadays, I think that the pupil would be more encouraged to come back with more of a debate and sort of explain and say, well, actually, no, you know, this is why I want to do it, and sort of almost stand their ground a little bit. Whereas it was back in the 70s, wasn't it? And things were quite different then, weren't they? It was very much, you know, if that's what was told, that was that.
That was that. You did as you were told, and teachers were right. That was just it. I mean, I don't believe in the other extreme that you probably get now, that teachers are wrong whatever they do.
Oh gosh, no.
I think it's about a balance.
Yeah.
And certainly I know from experience there are lots of people that have been through similar stories that just didn't end up doing what they wanted to do because they were given poor advice.
So you ended up becoming a secretary.
I did.
And you found it particularly easy to get organising other people's workloads, and therefore the success that would come off the back of that for those individuals that you'd organised. It must have been quite exciting to see and quite a buzz to sort of know that you were behind that. But then at the same time, your boss took a lot of that credit, didn't he? Or all of the credit?
Took all of the credit, yes. I was, as you say, very, very good at organising, and I still am. I have a very, very clear analytical mind, and I know what goes where and how things need to be, and they just fall into place for me. So I did a lot of work that was outside of the scope of my role and brought a lot of success for it. But as I said in my story with you, my boss got big pay rise as a result of my work, company car, all sorts of things. And that wasn't a good day.
No, but on the every cloud has a silver lining, you looked at that and thought, well, if you can take credit for my job, I obviously can do your job.
Exactly.
So that kind of gave you the fire in the belly to get up and think, right, I'm out of here. I'm going to go and do something for me.
Yeah, definitely.
So what do you think that you took from that experience that really sort of, you know, gave you that drive?
I think understanding that I was much more capable of doing things than I'd given myself credit for. And that when I realised the result of my work and what could come from it, albeit that somebody else took credit for it, I thought, actually, there's something about me and I can do more than I think I can do. And I decided at that moment, okay, I'm going to go and put myself to the test, if you like, put myself on the line and see whether I am as good as I now think I am. Absolutely petrified. Absolutely petrified. I mean, when you pack your stuff up and walk out of a perfectly well-paid, secure job.
And how long had you been
there?
No
idea. Oh gosh, I must have been there about 4 or 5 years.
Wow, so quite some time then,
quite some time. And also to fall out with somebody that I'd worked with for such a long time and known well. We're friends now, but at the time.
Does he need you now?
He's retired now, so no. So doesn't need me so much.
in through your journey, and obviously you know we'll come to this in a short while. You have obviously got 2 successful businesses, but you've also written a book, and yet you're still upskilling yourself. So I know that you find it very important to continue to grow. You've just taken on, you're doing a course now for learning about professional and public speaking, aren't you?
Yes.
So why do you think it's so important to keep growing that knowledge?
Well, you have to keep growing anyway, regardless of what career path you take or what you're focused on. And I'm a glutton for learning and developing and moving forward. So every single year I set myself a target of something new to learn.
Wow.
Something that will take me outside of my comfort zone, because as they say, that's where the magic happens.
What's the most diverse thing that you've learned?
On my public speaking or just generally?
In general.
Oh my goodness.
That really took you out of comfort zone?
Going back a little way, before I was 40, I decided one of the things that I would do that year was to go to learn to do karate.
Okay.
So I went to learn to do karate, and actually over a few years, I got to a first dan, black belt in karate. That took me straight outside of my comfort zone. I'd never done anything like that. So that was brilliant.
So that's fantastic. And I think that reflects your character very much so, that you are someone that will go and try something new.
Yeah.
So you studied a lot in the US as well, didn't you? So tell us about that.
Yeah. One of the main things I studied in the US is the business development process that I use with people. It isn't so much of a process, but a way of looking at businesses and helping them to grow and develop. So I'd been studying on another course in the US, and I heard about an organization, a company called the Adizes Institute. And I thought, the little I'd heard about them, this sounds right up my street, something that I would really want to learn. So I thought, okay, I'm going to pursue that. So the following year, after I had been in California on a previous course, I then started another course.
And you use that methodology now, don't you?
I do, yes. I've been using it for many, many years. It's very flexible. I always describe it as probably the most comprehensive business growth, business development strategy or way of working I've ever come across. For all the books I've ever read, for all the people that are out there.
How long were you in the US?
On and off, because it wasn't sort of a one block thing. On and off, probably about 18 months studying that.
What made you choose to go over there to study?
That's where the magic was happening, and that's where the methodology was. I wanted to be with the actual creator of the methodology, and he was based in Santa Barbara in California. So I went to be trained by him specifically, and he's a PhD in business. So I went over there and spent some time there.
Did you know anybody out there?
No, but I got to know people, and I still know them now. There was somebody there from Russia who was studying at the time, and somebody else from Mexico. And they're still people that I keep in touch with.
But you went out there completely not knowing anybody, just ready to get your teeth stuck in. And wow.
Well, you've got to do that. If you don't sort of go out there and take some risks, it's never going to happen. Nobody's doing it for you. You have to get up and do it yourself.
So with the speaking course that you're doing, what's the vision?
Oh, the vision is to be the best public speaker ever. No, I'm just joking. Well, actually, why not? I like public speaking, and I think that, one, it's something I enjoy, and two, I think it's a really good way of getting across your story, if you like, and the sorts of things that you like and enjoy. And it's a way to just do something else that takes me out of my comfort zone a bit and learn and develop. And I think for any leader and any person in business, being able to speak and speak well in public is actually a really important skill.
100%. Yeah. But a lot of people find it really nerve-wracking.
Yes.
What advice would you give to somebody that was going to be going out and having to do a speech in front of, people and stepping outside that comfort zone? What advice would you give to somebody?
Practice, practice, practice. That's a really big, important part of it. Not so that you learn a script off by heart, but you're as natural as you can be. Be yourself. Practice, know what it is you want to say, and then just be confident in what you do. Go out there and be confident, because people will pick up if you're very, very nervous about it. So just be confident.
The life skills and business knowledge that you've picked up has given you the skill set to set up your own business.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's obvious to us because we've obviously done the research. But you've got 2 businesses,
I have.
and you've written a book. So tell us firstly about the business, the P3 business development. So you work with business leaders whose shortfall of their true potential.
Yes.
And so tell us about that. What do you do with them? How do you shape them up and get them achieving what they really, really can?
After I've beaten them around the head a bit with a baseball bat? No, not at all. Please. Not at all.
We'll give you the link to sign up.
Just pay me and I'll beat you up. No, one of the things that I do when I go in to work with a business leader is find out what their challenges are. And it's not always easy when you own and run a business to be able to talk to somebody about things aren't going as well as you'd want them to, or things are just not
presumably
working out.
They feel almost that opens them up, it makes them vulnerable.
Yeah, makes them vulnerable.
And also, do they always know? Do they always know, or can they always see that?
To say, quite often I describe it as, sometimes I'll go into a business and somebody will say to me, we've got this problem, or we're trying to develop to this stage. And once you've had a conversation with them, usually in a very, very short space of time, I find this that they're presenting isn't really what they need to be focusing on. It's this that is the cause of it. Because quite often people are dealing with what they see, the result of something, but I always go beneath the surface to find out, well, what's caused us to get here, and we deal with that rather than what we're seeing.
So it's almost a bit of troubleshooting as well then.
It is. Sometimes I describe it like being a doctor, that you sort of go in, I've got a headache, but actually it's what's causing the headache that you need to deal with, not just give people painkillers.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. So your second business, Mindplay.
Yes.
You founded this with Chris Cohen.
Chris Corbin.
So Chris Corbin, tell us about Chris.
Yeah.
Where did you meet him? What made you go into business with him?
Yeah. A really interesting story of how I met Chris. I was living in Barbados at the time, and Chris is also from Barbados but lived in the UK. And he was talking to one of his friends on the phone and saying, I've got this great idea for working with people to get them to be more creative and imaginative in their businesses. And I'm just looking for people who would share that view. And his friend in Barbados, who I'd only met the week before, suggested that Chris talk to me. And we ended up speaking on the phone and just getting to know each other. And when you just click with people and you share so many values in common, well, we found that we did. And we talked for about 6 months or so before we decided, actually, this is a really, really good business idea. And then I came over to the UK because I was still living in Barbados at that time. And we met and talked it all through and spent lots of time together. And before you knew it, a business was born.
So tell us about you from Barbados coming over to UK. What made you do that? Was it because of this, or was that always the plan?
No, I was travelling backwards and forwards anyway, coming to the UK, because we had gone to live in Barbados we hadn't got a fixed period of time. My husband and I can be a little bit like that about things. Let's just go and see what happens.
I love this.
Have an adventure.
Life's an adventure, yes. Yeah.
So we'd gone to Barbados, but I was still coming back to the UK and working with clients here, not every 5 minutes, but regularly. Yeah. So when I came back, it was on one of those occasions that I'd come back to do some work that I arranged to meet up with Chris, and we sat and talked about Mindplay, and that's how Mindplay was born.
P3 focuses very much on business leaders and working with business leaders, whereas Mindplay is very much the team.
Mindplay starts with the business leaders, but it's also the teams as well. So it is a mixture of both, and there is a real synchronicity between what I do in P3 and what we do in Mindplay. I
was going to say, how do they mesh well? Because they obviously very much sit alongside each other nicely, don't they then?
They do. So if you think about P3 in the sense of, that's all about growing the business strategy, developing the leadership skills of the business owners and the business leaders. And Mindplay is that as well, but specifically from the perspective of being innovative, creative and imaginative in how you're going to differentiate yourself in the market. And a lot of times people don't think that they're very creative, so we help them to realize that they can be, and it's not something that you lose. It's not a way that you are taught as you're at school. You're always taught to colour in the lines and fit in with the system, but it's not a skill that you lose to be imaginative and creative. So we talk about it in terms of rekindling imagination at work.
So I can understand why Mind Play is called Mind Play.
Yeah.
Tell me why P3 business development is called P3.
Oh gosh, over the years it's travelled on a lot of journeys, and I'm going to tell you a secret, so don't play this part for anybody else. Many, many years ago, do you remember a TV show called Charmed?
Yes.
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 There were 3 sisters in Charmed, and they all had a name beginning with P. And I love that. And we'd been sitting for ages trying to come up with the name of a business, and they owned a business called P3. So I thought, I like that. I'm going to steal that and call my business P3. But it wasn't Piper, Pippa, and whatever their names was. It was potential, process, and progress.
I like
what
it.
We had.
I like that.
So I stole it, entirely stole it.
So tell me about the different types of businesses that you work with.
Yeah. Over the years, it's nearly 15 years now that I've been doing this. Goodness me. I've worked with businesses of all shapes and sizes in all sectors. So I've worked from small charities to large international companies. And I find that size is the differentiator, but actually a lot of companies, no matter what sector and whatever they're doing, go through similar challenges. So I'm able to take experiences from one sector and share it in another, and give people the opportunity not to just benefit from my input, but from all of the experience I've had over the years.
What would you say is the biggest achievement when you've worked with a business and you've sort of seen something impact? What would you say has given you the biggest buzz?
Oh, for me, I don't know about for the business, but for me, the biggest buzz is when you see a business that has been going through some challenges and struggling, or a business owner or business leader struggling with something in particular. And then at the end of it, from working with them, they're flying, they're taking off, things have changed, transformed, turned around, and the business starts to do really, really well. I talk about being comfortable in your own skin again, because sometimes it feels like you're not so comfortable in your own skin when you're having challenges as a business leader.
So often you find that some of the best businesses to work with, or the businesses that have got a lot of potential, don't realise that they need help, or they think, well, we're doing fine, we don't need anything else. Why is it important for those businesses to still have the open mind and to sort of look for advice or work with people like yourself?
Yeah. Because like anybody, we have a way of looking at the world where we see our own skill and our ability in a certain context. And unless we ask somebody else to have a look for us and give us their view of, is this working? Is there anything else I can be thinking about? Is this the best way to get from A to B? We can get a bit caught up in our own view of what is going on. So whether you're leading a really, really successful business, or want it to grow, or are facing some challenges, I think every business owner and leader should be open to just asking those questions and having conversations with somebody who can say, well, what about this and what about that? And maybe push that boundary a little bit as well. So it's beneficial for all businesses.
So when you work with a business, especially take on a new client as such, you run a forensic diagnostic on each one.
Yeah.
So can you tell us about that? Or is that a secret?
It's not a secret, but I love the word forensic. A lot of times what people will do when they do a diagnostic is you fill in a questionnaire online and therefore this is your business. I don't do that. I actually physically go in and spend time in the business with the people in the business. I listen to them, I observe them, I find things out about the business. I spend time with the decision makers and with other people in the business as well. And I ask them some really challenging questions about what's going on, how they arrived at where they are, where they want to go. And from spending time doing that, I get a very, very detailed picture of what is going on in the business, what the potential is, where they can go. And that's how we then decide where's the best place to focus energy to help the business get to where it wants to be.
Do you find that what someone might tell you on day one would be different to what they might tell you?
Every time.
Yeah. So as they warm to you and they open up and the trust and relationship is built.
Yeah, every time.
But that must be hard for you because it almost hinders what you're able to do because they're not giving you that information from the word go.
And I think that's why, for me, it's far more important to be in the business, spending time and doing my diagnostic that way than a very kind of distant fill in a questionnaire. Because if you're going to fill in a questionnaire, you're going to say, well, this isn't very good, that's not very good. You try to present your business in the best possible light, and that's fine. But if you really want to move forward, It's about being open and honest and saying, these are the things that aren't working so well. And it's about relationship. You've got to find that you trust somebody to be able to be that honest and open with them. And that's why I spend time in the business and with the people.
It's much more personal then.
Definitely.
So your educational workshops,
yes,
they aim to fire up the imagination of existing sort of working patterns as well within the workplace. Do you think there's a bit of a lull in imagination with people these days? So what is it, why is it so important to you to sort of spark that and get that going?
Yeah. As I was saying earlier, it's not about people losing the ability to be imaginative and creative. And so in Mindplay, what we say is we rekindle that. We go into the business, we work with you to rekindle it. And the reason it's so important is the world is such a competitive place and will continue to be more and more competitive. If you're really going to go out there into the market and meet the needs of customers and stay ahead of the game, you've got to understand how you can meet people's needs differently. You can't keep doing the same old thing. And it requires a bit of imagination and creativity to come up with the next service offering, the next product, or whatever it may be. And I think as well, people can kind of take themselves a little bit too seriously sometimes. We're going to have a very special meeting to come up with the next project or product. And they're so serious about it. Whereas we say in Mindplay, actually have fun with it.
Yeah.
Because when you have fun with it, you'd be amazed at how the mind opens up and how new ideas and ways of looking at things come about. So it's always about fun as well.
So 2 businesses, been established for some time now.
Yes,
and the book, tell me about the book. When did you find time for that? When did you write that?
The first book, I'm working on another one. The first book I wrote when I was in Barbados.
You're stealing my questions,
Sorry. The first book I wrote when I was in Barbados, and that was quite a deliberate thing on my part. I carved out time and sat and diaried it. And
why did you want to do that?
It's the book itself is about business growth. And one of the things that I found in working with businesses is that they always have great ambitions. They've always got great plans. We're going to be here in the next 3 years. And sometimes I'd go back to those businesses, wondering how they'd got on and checking in with them. And they hadn't quite got to where they could get to, even though they had the potential to do it. So I started asking questions over the years. What is stopping them? What are the things that they're finding challenging? And actually, I found that there are a number of things, and they probably fit into about 10 or 12 boxes of things that people do find challenging. So I wrote the book to give people some hints and tips about, if you're going to grow your business, it's not just about having a nice strategy and plan for it, it's actually preparing the business as well. And these are the different ways that you can do it.
So one of the things that you'd said to us previously, in fact, actually, I believe it might even be quoted in the magazine, is about you can't plant a seed.
Exactly.
And expect it to grow. Yeah. You've got to prepare the ground first.
You've got to prepare the ground first. And that's exactly what the book is about. It's called Get Fit for Growth.
That was my next question. And where can people buy this? So Get Fit for Growth.
Yes, it's available on Amazon, both in Kindle and in hard copy as well. So,
and how did it feel when you first got your hands on a hard copy of that?
Amazing. When you've always wanted to do something and you think, 1, I haven't got the time, 2, I've never written a book before, can I write a book? And it was amazing to have.
How long did it take you from start to finish?
Oh, quite a long time, actually. The writing of it wasn't such the difficult part. It was going through the editors and getting, covers designed and all of these kinds of things. So that took quite a while. All in all, it probably took close on a year.
Wow.
To get to the stage where it was publishable.
But that's still quite a short time, isn't it? When you've got a vision to sort of get stuck in and go for it. So
if you decide you're going to do it, you have to do it.
With all of this going on, so 2 books and a business, and then in the early 2000s, you received your OBE.
I did.
So tell us about that. What was it recognised for? Why do you think you got that? Do you know who nominated you? Tell us.
You're not supposed to know who nominates you, so I'll have to keep that a secret.
Okay.
But I'll say what it was for is for services to economic and social regeneration. And at the time that I was nominated, I was very much involved at a strategic level and working with and through government departments to create strategic responses to creating wealth and improving economic prosperity in the region that I lived in. So I was working with a whole range of organisations and working, doing some stuff which I hate to take all the credit for, because you don't do these things by yourself. You're working with other people. But I'd done that for about 6 years and was then nominated. And I do know who nominated me, but I'm not allowed
We won't
to
share
say.
that then. And how did it feel to have that recognition, to sort of think, oh my gosh, this, people genuinely think that I'm doing an amazing job and I'm obviously making a big difference. That must have been quite a realisation.
It was heartwarming, but also very strange for me. When you get an envelope through the door from the Prime Minister's office saying you're nominated for this and, would you accept it? And I thought my friends were playing a joke on me. And I thought, how have they managed to get...
That would be an awful joke.
No, it depends on your friends. My friends would do things like that. So I thought, they've got this headed paper from the Prime Minister's office and stuff. And no, it was real. And then I thought, gosh, no, you do that underselling yourself. I didn't do this by myself. I worked with a team. I can't receive this. And every single person I knew just went, don't be so stupid, Barbara. Go and get it. You deserve it. Grab it with both hands. Well done. And they were also supportive of me. So I said, yeah, okay, I'll accept it.
Have you found that it's impacted on your business at all?
Well, people always ask me what I got it for. So I'm hoping that it's probably about people realizing that
credibility.
Yeah. I know my stuff. I'm not kind of just fresh off the
winging
boat and winging it and not knowing what I'm doing. So I think credibility wise, it does have an impact. And I do get friends as well that just joke and curtsy at me. Barbara MBE, and I go, stop it.
So going back to the book, would you say that would be considered an extension of P3 business?
For me, it is. I hope it would be for other people as well, because if you don't prepare your business for growth, the chances of being successful and realizing your potential of what you can achieve are much reduced. So that was the aim of it. And it isn't even a how-to book. It's a think about these different things, and you don't have to do all of them. But if your business hasn't thought about these different things in preparing yourself for growth, maybe you should be thinking about them. And of course, it would be silly if I didn't say, and I can help in all of those.
Of course it would be. So your second book that you're in the process of writing currently, that the aim of that is to demystify the art of innovation. So when can we expect to be able to get our hands on a copy?
We are at the second edit stage, so we're aiming for, if all goes well, the end of the year. Fantastic. And I'm writing that with 2 other people as well. So.
What made you draft in other people on this in one?
Again, I really love collaboration. It's one of my big drivers, and working with and just knowing other people who are great at what they do as well. And again, it comes out of a conversation and a relationship where we're having a chat and we all said, you know what, everybody tries to make it such a mysterious thing, this innovation. And we said, we'd love to be able to do something about that. So a book was born.
I love it. So just to finish it off, may I ask, the sort of businesses that you work with, obviously there is no sector specific, you can work with any sort of businesses, but what would you say, if you were to say to me, if I work with you, this is what I will do, what would you say?
I would say that I will help you to do 3 main things. Is 1, understand everything about the current context of the business. And you'd say, well, I know that. But honestly, quite often, you're so busy working in the business that you haven't got time to necessarily look up. So I would say, let's have a look at the business and the context that it's in. I would then look at drawing some insights out of that to say, where should you be putting your energy for the best effect? And then the third thing it would be, how would I help you to implement that and make it stick and make it work? Because quite often people know what to do, but they can't translate from knowing what to do to making it happen. So that's the whole journey that I would work on with people, looking at the context, coming up with what is most important, and then helping you to make sure it happens.
And actually, I'm going to finish off with something else. Leicester. Yes. Now home, yes. You've started to get involved with the Leicester business community, which is how we met you, through obviously a mutual contact who's someone that we work closely with on a business and a personal level there. What is it about Leicester business community that you really like?
Well, one of the things that I really love about it is just how incredibly open and welcoming people are here, other businesses. People aren't about, this is my business and I'm keeping my contacts and my networks to myself and all of that kind of thing. Everybody I've got in touch with has just been so open, welcoming, friendly, happy to collaborate. introduced me to somebody like you and your business as well. And it's just been really great to be here. I've only been here just over a year.
Wow.
And the people I know are just fabulous. And I'm really, really grateful and blessed.
Well, we're excited to see the business grow and see you more out and about on the Leicester business scene.
Oh, definitely.
Lovely. Well, thank you. No, definitely not. Definitely not. Thank you so much for coming in and for having a chat. It's been fantastic to get to know you a bit more.
Thank you.